Hey guys, welcome back. Joe here again, scalefreak.com, coming to give you a kind of a quick tip install when you're doing these RC4WD beadlock wheels and the RC4WD tires. What I'm using here are the 1.55, the same ones that come on the Trailfinder 2 when you get it brand new, but I got them in black because I like that. These ones here are ZW0036, again 155 4-piece, so the hex, the back plate, the center, the front, and of course all the hardware to put it all together. And again, I'm going to mount on the IROC. This is the 1.55 IROC. This is ZT0056. And I'm going to put it all together. Anybody who's done these wheels before with this type of hardware in the middle knows that this can be a bit of a struggle back in the day, especially if you're doing a non-RC4WD tire on these rims. It can be a bit of a fight. And when I say fight, I mean tools will fly sometimes. So you need to be able to know the tricks and tips to make it easier for you so you can make it through all four wheels without damaging into the hardware or damaging anything else around your house. So here's the best way that I've figured out how to do it. So first, you've got your tire. Obviously, you have your hardware, your rim, and you have the stub of an axle. Why? Well, I'll show you. So first, in goes your center ring. Make sure that the foam is in there okay. I'm just using the stock foam that came with the tires. I give it a little zip around like that to make sure that the wheel is solid in there. Okay, now we're gonna put the front and the back plate together. But one of the things, or if you've mounted these before, you'll notice that sometimes when you line up the holes, the two plates don't line up together and you can't see daylight through the plate. So my tip to that is sit them down and look for the thing that's unique about it. Like say for example, on this one, this hole right here lines up with that blank. That's the only one. The rest of them are all offset. So if I look at this one and I find the common right there. So this hole lines up with that one. So as long as I make sure that that goes like that, where'd it go? Then it will line up when I put my actual wheel together, because there's definitely been times in the past that I put it all together and realize that they're not absolutely straight. Then you take it all apart again and again. If you've done one of these wheels before, you know how much of a struggle that can be. So first we're going to start with the back plate. I'll just flip it over and drop it in. Again, I'll make sure that that single hole that meets that blank is pointing towards this way. And then add some pressure on it. Use the fingers on the back ring, because remember that metal ring is in there. Use the fingers on the back of the ring just to give it some pressure and make sure that the bead is set in everywhere around. It's not trying to already poke itself out. At this stage, it usually doesn't try to. So again, keeping that forward, flip it over, find that forward spot on this one, and then we're gonna drop it in, eyeball it as best you can. And yeah, I seem to have got it there. Now, again, in the front, keeping pressure at all times, front and back. Also check the beads again on the back. Make sure that none of the bead is trying to sneak its way out, because it will actually try to do that. Now what we're gonna do is you've got this on the back here, right? So you're gonna pop this on the back. It's got that center hole here, so it will just click into place. And then you're going to turn it with your fingers until you see daylight. And bingo, right there. So now I can see 6 holes through. Now this is where this comes into play. This is where this helps quite a bit. So pop this in the back like you're mounting the wheel on the truck. Now at this point, you can make any small adjustments to the hex on the back, but this is where the trick really is. So again, keeping pressure at all times. Now I've got finger pressure on the back of here and on the front of the rim. Now what I'm gonna do is put one screw in here, ta-da, and one screw on the opposite side, ta-da, and that's just to make sure. So watch this next step. Now, see where my fingers are now? 1 here, 2 here. Well, now I'm gonna transfer 2 fingers onto those holes, keep it flipped over, use the 3rd finger to hold it in, and now I'm putting the hex on. Now what this is going to do, those 2 screws that are still in there are there to make sure that as I use my wheel wrench and tighten this hex down, that this wheel, the front side and the back side of the rim are not gonna shift on you, because then you gotta take it all apart again. But what I'm doing with this hex is as I tighten it down, I'm making sure that the two metal plates are coming together and allowing me to be able to build this wheel without releasing the pressure off of everything and possibly stripping the bolts out, because that's what happens sometimes is if your fingers get tired and you start to loosen off, if these bolts are only a couple of them in, they're not super strong metal, so they may actually just tear out. This also gives you a chance to check your bead all around while you're building the tire, that it's not trying to pop out anywhere, so that you don't wind up getting it fully built and then you have to tear it all apart again. So now I'm free to flip it over, to flip it backwards, to do whatever it is that I want to do, so I don't have the wheel coming apart. I don't have to worry about cramping my fingers. But now you can just throw these on and tighten it down until it's just a little bit snug. I say a little bit snug because it's not super strong metal, so you will absolutely tighten these things until they strip. You will feel it start to tighten, and as you're waiting for it to be like, oh, I'm just waiting for it to snug up, well, it might already be too late and you've already stripped it out. So there's 2. And then I'll do these to all 6. Now these little guys are super small. If you have the wrench to do it, like the socket to do it, awesome. If you don't, that's fine. You can just use a set of needle nose pliers at the end to help you get the little bit more tight that you want them to be, because not many people will ever usually have to work with hardware this small normally. So why buy the wrench if you don't have to? Make sure it's on there. There we go. Now originally, when I did these rims way back in the day for my 1.9s, trying to mount non-RC4WD wheels, sorry, RC4WD wheels with non-RC4WD tires, yeah, it was bad. Things were thrown. It took me usually about 40 minutes per wheel because they don't always want to go together correctly. There's usually a complication. It won't hold the bead correctly, and to get it done correctly, it takes quite a long time. Now this way is a way to make sure that you do the prep work well before you have to start throwing hardware in, and also it also gives you that last opportunity to make sure that your beads are 100% before you start to crank screws down, because if a bead pops while you're doing it, you have to start over again, and that sucks, especially if you've got, 4 of the 6 in. So just getting that last one in there. Again, I'll just grab my needles and give each one just a little tiny snug. Don't do anything more than that. You do not want to put too much pressure on these little guys. Remember, there are 6 of them, so they're going to hold that wheel no problem. Now again, that's put together. You can see the beads are okay on both sides. Now, release the wheel hex, pop the CVD out the back, and there you go. You've now mounted one of the RC4WD Stamped Steel wheels with the tiny, tiny, tiny hardware. So hopefully that will save you some time and some frustration when it comes time to get yours done. Now, again, this is just the end of a broken axle with a plastic hex, a wheel lug or a wheel nut. I'm using my CalRC magnetic pit screw catcher so that I don't lose any of that small hardware. And this is the RC4WD Stamped Steel wheel with the RC4WD IROC 1.55. So that's my tip for you today. If you have any questions or anything about it, just pop a comment below. But in the meantime, please remember to like, share, comment below anyway, and I guess subscribe to the channel. So guys, thank you very much for watching. Have a great night.